computer-controlled mission simulators. A 360-degree full-mission bridge simulator realistically portrays docking and maneuvering.
Can you call the bow, please?
The simulator is capable at Star Center of different weather conditions. You can go from day to night, but you can also have fog, rain. The ability to dim the lights and to make it more realistic in a situation approaching a harbor is really important.
In the Star engine room simulators, engineers learn to use sophisticated monitoring equipment that will alert them to potential problems at sea.
We try to keep from losing the plant, losing situational awareness, being able to stand in all conditions, maneuvering and everything of this nature. In case there is a problem, you want to avoid losing the engines.
Inside the engine room of the Grand Princess, engineers watch over 6 diesel engines worth $24 million. The engines produce enough electricity to power a city of 186,000 and allow the Grand Princess to reach a speed of 23 knots. In contrast, the fastest and sleekest ship of the 1930s, the Normandy, was powered by 4 turboelectric engines and achieved a top speed of over 32 knots. But speed is not a selling point for the fun-seeking passengers of today's megaships. Instead, the cruise lines emphasize beauty, comfort, and reliability. Passengers expect everything on board to work perfectly.
We are self-contained. We have self-contained repair and maintenance divisions. And so if we need carpentry work done, we have carpenters. If we need masons to do tile work, we have masons. We have our own plumbers, our own electricians. So we have to have a full city to take care of that 24-hour operation. Since the ships are sailing, we don't have the luxury of calling a shoreside repair service.
A ship carrying over 3,000 passengers generates more than a ton of garbage a day. So maintaining the waste disposal system is vitally important. The cities on the sea use systems that are more efficient and more expensive than in many cities on land. On most megaships, trash is quickly reduced to ash in incinerators that reach temperatures over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 538 degrees Celsius. The megaships must handle a wide variety of waste problems, including the disposal of hazardous chemicals.
These ships are floating cities, and they contain many of the amenities of a city, and including dry cleaning operations, photographic development facilities, and even print shops. And as you know, those are the kind of facilities on land that produce various kinds of hazardous materials, hazardous chemical materials.
In 1998 and 1999, Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines agreed to pay millions of dollars in criminal fines for illegally dumping wastewater containing hazardous chemicals.
They dumped everywhere, at sea, in port, in sensitive environmental areas, even in the shadow of the company's executive suites. They didn't care. Ironically, Royal Caribbean Cruises polluted the very environment on which its business relies. Under the terms of the plea, Royal Caribbean will pay $18 million in criminal fines, the largest criminal penalty ever assessed against a cruise line.
As a condition of their probation, Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines is investing millions in new equipment to comply with stringent government environmental regulations.
The equipment that has been available has been, frankly, very difficult to operate, very time-consuming, high maintenance, high effort. And one of the things that we have done is that we have introduced with the manufacturer a new type of bilge water separator which purifies the water relatively easily, that's important, but also 3 times as pure as required by any government's regulation.
latest innovation in marine engines is expected to help the megaships operate more cleanly, and Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines will be the first to take advantage of it. Shown here at a recent sea trade convention in Miami, the gas turbine engine is proving to be highly reliable, extremely powerful, and environmentally friendly.
These turbine plants are incredibly clean burning, and for the same power, we're able to reduce the emissions by 80 to 98%. Tremendous reduction in emissions, and still with a even better power plant from the customer's point of view, because there's less noise and vibration.
The technological revolution that created the cities on the sea continues to provide the means to operate these colossal queens of the ocean safely and cleanly. But as with all human endeavors, the success of the operation still depends upon the training, the motivation, and the choices made by the humans controlling the technology.
Can a computer think? Can it learn?
That is the elusive utopia many seek, but few discover. However, the perfect vacation is exactly what the cruise lines claim to offer. And for millions of people every year, they seem to deliver on that promise.
The cruise industry spoils people. That's part of what we're all about. And that's what people enjoy. They've worked hard. This is their vacation. They're not just spending their money, they're spending their hard-earned time.
But as the size of the ships and number of passengers increase, so does the amount of time it takes to check in.
And that's one of the biggest complaints, I think, that we have within the industry. If a person goes on cruise, if he has to wait in line, not happy.
New technology introduced at the Sea Trade Convention in Miami promises to simplify and speed up passenger check-in. The A-Pass system embeds detailed information about each passenger on a magnetic strip on the passenger's cruise ID card.
As they move on and off the ship, they swipe the card, and so at any one point in time, we can tell whether or not they're on board or off, and if somebody does not have that card, then they're not going to get admittance to our ship. So it is a very comfortable, secure feeling that we provide.
Comfortable and secure? Yes. Boring? No. Passengers can enjoy everything from intimate nightclubs to casinos to full-scale stage productions.
And we have theaters and lounges aboard our ships that seat 1,000 guests. We produce more shows than probably most production companies in the United States. We have a team within our entertainment division that is responsible to audition the dancers, rehearse the dancers, work with our choreographers and the whole production team to ensure that we have the finest entertainment.
Well, you know, stage technology for cruise ship has changed so much since I started. The show consisted of 6 singers and dancers, and scenery was 3 bits of plywood which we'd push on wheels from the side of the stage, and then be a quick blackout and we'd all run on and push another piece of scenery on. Now, of course, we have this huge Acrobat computer that controls the entire scenery and all the different stage positionings. When you have 20 dancers, singers, entertainers, and scenery moving up and down and side to side, you have to make sure that nobody's in the way of it.
But the dancers and singers aren't the only performers inhabiting the cities on the sea. Every member of the crew is part of the show. But entertaining passengers isn't the biggest challenge for the crew. That comes once the cruise is over. The advanced technology that has created the megaships has also created a potential logistical nightmare in port.
When a ship arrives in its home port, it usually arrives about 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. We are expected to have that ship sail again at 4:30 in the afternoon. On a ship the size of the Destiny that would have 3,300 guests, for example, they would have as much as 15,000 pieces of luggage. So we have a team of crew members that remove all the luggage from the cabins, that bring it down to a particular area that we refer to as a marshalling area. And it gets put into cages that are handled by forklifts. And there's a 2-hour process to remove the luggage from the ship. And this is a whole back-of-the-house operation. We'll have our last guest out of this 3,300 guests off the ship about 10:30, 11 in the morning. By 12:30 in the afternoon, 2 hours later, we'll start embarking another 3,300 guests. So we have 2 hours to turn over the entire vessel, to clean every public area, to clean 1,300 cabins, to ensure the provisions are brought from the storerooms and the refrigerators up to the proper bars and the lounges and the pantries. 1,300-room hotel doesn't have to check in 1,300 rooms that particular day. We have to.
In addition to handling passengers and luggage, the crew must entirely restock the ship with the food and supplies needed for the next cruise.
If you can just imagine, if you have 20,000 meals per day, and for 7 days, that's in a range of 150,000 meals for the week. The operational provisioning ship becomes of such a magnitude that it is difficult to imagine 5,000-6,000 pounds of prime rib, maybe about 10,000 pounds of steaks and other meats.
Most passengers on the megaships feel they are being fed gourmet cuisine, while in fact it's mass-produced banquet-style food. In the main galley on the Triumph, 120 cooks prepare as many as 5,000 dinners each night. And at the end of the evening, that adds up to a lot of dirty dishes. The mounds of dirty dishes are something the passengers never have to deal with. But there are other unfortunate realities they must sometimes face in the midst of their vacation.
And what actually happens to the dessert?
In the event of illness, the megaships are equipped to provide medical care.
Medical treatment aboard cruise ships is really quite good, considering that we don't have a hospital on board, and these are not hospital ships. We do have infirmaries. Each of the cruise ships carries doctors and nurses.
Okay, good morning, Dr. Kerner.
New technology aboard the Grand Princess takes medical care at sea one step further. The SeaMed program gives passengers electronic access to some of the world's finest physicians.
So you can actually see what's going on. Over.
A satellite hookup links the ship's medical staff with the emergency department at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, California.
Pneumonia, and Dr. Tarling has it under control now.
However, getting sick at sea can still pose unique difficulties. Even critically ill patients must remain on the ship until the next port is reached. Royal Caribbean's new Voyager of the Seas is the first cruise ship to have a helipad, enabling the severely ill or injured to be flown to the nearest hospital. But no danger is taken more seriously or fought more fiercely than fire.
On board our ships, we provide at least 100 firefighters for probably 3,000 to 4,000 people. So we're talking a ratio of about 2 firemen for each 100 persons. So the fire protection far exceeds anything you may find in the city.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the signal that a lifeboat drill is in progress. All guests must now report to their cabins, collect their life jackets as a lifeboat drill is starting at this time. All guests must attend. Thank you.
Within the first 4 to 5 hours of most cruises, all passengers are required to attend a mandatory fire drill so that they know exactly what they will do in case of an emergency.
Cruise lines routinely conduct fire drills and train their crews to use the latest technology in detecting and fighting fires.
A fire that may start on any part of the ship will emit smoke or heat. This will be picked up by the smoke detector. It will immediately send a signal to the bridge that will be identified by an officer, and a fire patrol person will be designated or alerted to respond to that scene.
Fire patrol, do you copy?
Upon arrival on the scene, the safety officer provides those firemen the information regarding what actions they'll take inside the fire compartment.
On the floor. You got that?
Having been given this information, they are told to go on air. They'll put on the self-contained breathing apparatus and have 20 minutes of fresh air supplied to them so that they can make entry and effect any kind of firefighting or rescue as necessary.
Officer, on air. On air, okay. Ready.
Once these men get inside, if they find a fire, naturally they'll communicate that back to the officer, who in turn will communicate this to the bridge to let the captain know what conditions are that exist in that fire compartment. And then they will continue the procedure, advancing towards the fire until it is under control or fully extinguished.
A Carnival crew's ability to handle a major fire was dramatically put to the test on live TV. On July 20th, 1998, fire broke out in an air duct above the laundry room of the Ecstasy. It quickly moved through the ventilation system into an area 2 decks above, where polyester ropes caught fire and sent clouds of black smoke billowing into the air. In the past, this could easily have been a deadly fire. In this case, there were no deaths or serious injuries.
When you can put out a fire that may look dramatic like this one did and not have anyone injured at that fire, you're doing a good job, and by God they did.
But what if there was a bigger fire on a larger ship? Royal Caribbean's Voyager of the Seas carries more than 5,000 people. The International Maritime Organization has questioned whether a ship of that size could be safely evacuated in the 30 minutes required by international regulation.
The cruise industry has expanded so fast that there are a lot of people who think that it's getting too big. For example, we're not able to, by law, have any lifeboats that are larger than can hold 150 people. And based on that, it might be better if we had larger lifeboats, but it's not in the plans that I am aware of.
Could a disaster of titanic proportions occur on one of the modern megaships? It's a question that grows more and more important as the size of the cities on the sea continues to grow, and the future holds the possibility of ships that will carry 100,000 or more.
I've been a last-minute shopper all my
glance, it looks like a beautiful, luxurious passenger ship, but it isn't. This ship won't be carrying passengers, but permanent residents. The ship known as the World of Residence Sea will enable its citizens to travel the world without ever leaving home.
The whole concept of residency is to give people the opportunity to buy a home on a ship and use the home as a home whilst the ship is taking you to all the wonders of the world.
The more than 100 luxury apartments aboard Residence Sea will be fully furnished, including china and crystal. Prices range from $2 million to $6.8 million, and ownership is by invitation only.
We have certain criteria when it comes to net worth, at least $5 million, that's the absolute minimum. And we take, in fact, our people through some kind of vetting. like you would have in a co-op in New York, for example, just to make sure that from a financial standpoint, they are able, in fact, to meet the criteria. And from a personality standpoint as well, they would fit in that community. That's very important to have a certain homogeneous community on board.
At a press conference in Norway in September 1999, Residency's corporate officers signed a contract to begin construction of the first true city on the sea. The $262 million ship will be built in Norway. Delivery is expected in December 2001.
What we're selling is a dream, but it's a dream coming true. It's a real lifestyle, and that's what people are buying. They're not buying a cruise, they're not buying a new residence, they're buying a way of living, which they think they will enjoy because they have the money to do it and they find it so exclusive.
Residency is the first floating condo development to begin construction, but there may be even more ambitious projects on the horizon. The 2.7 million ton Freedom Ship is the largest floating object ever conceived by man. It would be nearly a mile long, and instead of elegant smokestacks and seductive swimming pools, the top of the ship would be a runway. It's designed to provide homes for up to 125,000 people, including 20,000 employees.
It includes a school system from kindergarten through college, a high-tech medical center. It includes all the stores and businesses that you would have in your regular community. The only difference is this community continuously travels around the world.
The cost of constructing the Freedom Ship is expected to be more than $8 billion. Not surprisingly, securing financing has been the single biggest challenge.
We believe at this point we have the financing lined up, in which case there's nothing to stop us from building it. It will happen.
Still, there are people who question whether the Freedom Ship will ever be completed, or even should be.
I've seen some projects for a floating island with blocks of flats on a raft that never can go into a port. But I'm a ship enthusiast myself. My feeling is that a ship should somehow feel like a ship.
In less than 30 years, advances in technology have transformed passenger ships from merely a means of transportation to a holiday destination, and now to a whole new way of life. Our love of challenge drives us to create these technological marvels, inspiring us to view the unconquerable ocean as a sea of possibilities.
Set sail with the Carnival Destiny cruise ship and see how 100,000 tons of luxury stays afloat when TLC takes you on board the ocean's big stuff next. And for Science Frontiers Online, cruise over to TLC.com.